Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. If you're waiting around for another data review, I'm sorry, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. We have moved on to a new class, new semester, which means new case studies. In this instance, it is legal and ethical issues in school leadership. Once again, my name is Brooks Robbins, and I'm excited to share with you guys my keystone presentation for my summer classes at Georgia Southern. So let's just get into it. Let's set the stage here. We have a search and seizure at a high school. Dr. James, an assistant principal, has overheard a group of students congregating by the lockers and talking about one student in particular, Alex, who may be in possession of illegal substances. Now, overhearing this, Dr. James decides to intervene, sends the other students on their way, and kindly asks Alex to join him privately, where he asked him again if there's anything that he would like to tell him or if he is in possession of anything that may be illegal or against school policy. Now, Alex seems flustered at this point. He denies the claim that he is in possession of anything illegal. At this point, Dr. James decides to conduct a search based off of the conversation that he had just heard and Alex's clearly nervous behavior. So there's a few things to keep in mind here with this procedure. What went down was we had a 3-step process: notification, witness, and search. Dr. James once again reminded Alex of what was happening, the search of his belongings, in this case his backpack and his locker, and explained the reasons why he was doing this. He then employed the resources of a witness, Miss Smith, who was close to the scene at this time. He asked her to please stand by and observe what was happening, just so that there could be some transparency in the matter. And then finally, the search was conducted of his backpack and his locker, in which Dr. James indeed did find a bag of marijuana at the bottom of Alex's book bag. So how do we proceed in this sticky situation? Glad you asked. Just to slow things down for a moment, just to discuss the basics of the legal implications of this, the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution does protect citizens against unlawful search and seizures, and these rights do extend to students of no matter what age, okay, high school, middle school, it doesn't matter. Now, in any instance outside of school grounds, there needs to be a warrant issued for probable cause of whatever that the government is trying to seize, or any police officers that are trying to seize any items. But within the school context, it's not necessarily requiring a warrant. The courts have decided that this is an overreach and have placed the power in the hands of school officials to determine what is considered to be probable cause. Staff must have what's called a reasonable suspicion before they do conduct a search. So you might be asking me, what is reasonable suspicion? Well, it all started with the precedent that was set by New Jersey versus TLO, which defined reasonable suspicion within the school premises for the first time. The verdict that was brought down from this case is that school officials act as representatives of the state, not merely just as surrogates for the parents, which kind of goes along with the in loco parentis decidings of the school grounds. This eases the restrictions afforded to the school personnel, in which they do not need to issue a warrant, and if they are within their reasons and what they see is reasonable suspicion, they have the rights to search a student's body, their person, or even their belongings. But now, again, there must be reasonable grounds for suspecting that the search will turn up evidence. This could be a rather, I could keep saying sticky situation, but it really is. It's gone back and forth in the courts. There have been some cases where reasonable suspicion has been found, and others where the courts have deemed that schools have overreached with their authority. So I did want to bring up a little bit of legal precedent just to kind of shed some light on this matter. The next piece of evidence I'd like to present is the ruling in Safford Unified School District number 1 versus Reading. Now here we have a 13-year-old 8th grader, Savannah Reading, who was found in possession of prescription drugs. In this case, it was prescription ibuprofen, so not over-the-counter. This was something that did require a prescription. Once the administration found this, they decided to search her book bag further, but they did not stop there, and then continued with a strip search where they actually asked her to strip down to her underwear and then even remove the lining of her bra, which, again, upon reading that case, kind of set me back a little bit. I thought that in this case they did overreach. And the courts decided that they overreached too and found them in violation of the Fourth Amendment. But at this point, there had been no precedent before this, and the liability for them was covered under qualified immunity. Now, after this ruling, they definitely changed the precedent there, and I haven't seen anything where this has happened again, and I certainly haven't seen any qualified immunity come up after this case. But yeah, anytime that you can avoid a strip search, please do that. There are so many better ways that you could handle the situation. So how did we do overall here? Well, again, as teachers, and I've been teaching for this will be my 8th year, we are designated reporters, which means if we hear something, we have to act on it, right? Even if we're not sure what the situation could be. In this case, since Dr. James overheard that there may be something fishy going on and that Alex may be in possession of something illegal, he was well within his rights to cast reasonable suspicion and then conduct a search in the way that he did. Now, it's important to understand that this search was non-invasive. Okay, he's merely checked his book bag. It doesn't even seem like he checked his person at this point. He didn't pat him down. He didn't check his pockets. He did check his locker, but under school laws, the lockers are considered school property. Having a teacher there to serve as a witness was also a big move on his part, and something that definitely could have saved him some legal trouble. Behind closed doors, everything turns into he said, she said, right? You want someone there to not only just get the story straight, but also just offer some levity, right? Kind of ease the situation, maybe make Alex feel a little bit more comfortable. Because again, we want the best for the child, but we also want to make sure that everything is done up to standard of how the school has inducted their policy. And as educators, once again, anytime that these situations do arise, we always have to err on the side of caution, not just for every individual student, but for our teachers, for everyone in the school building, and for our community as a whole that, just like us, loves those students. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll try to do a data review again soon. But until then, know your rights, hang tight. I'll see you soon.